Today we're cracking open the two absolute giants of the operating system world, Windows and Linux. We're not just scratching the surface though, we are going deep to see how they are fundamentally architecturally designed to keep you and all of your data secure.
So which one is it, Windows or Linux? It's a debate that has raged for decades in forums and server rooms all across the world. But you know what? The answer isn't just about who gets more viruses or who has the bigger market share. The real difference, the one that truly matters, lies deep down in their core security philosophies. Okay, let's dive in.
Here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with their core philosophies, the big ideas behind them. Then we'll see how those ideas shape their actual architectural blueprints. From there, we'll get into the nitty-gritty, how they handle your digital ID, the rulebooks they enforce, and how they give you the keys to the kingdom. And then finally, we'll tackle that big question, whose security really comes out on top?
All right, first up, let's set the stage. Because we're not just talking about two random pieces of software here. We're talking about two completely different ways of thinking about how a computer should work from the ground up. So in one corner, you have Windows. It's the proprietary behemoth from Microsoft running on the vast majority of desktop computers on the planet. You buy it as one complete integrated package. And in the other corner, you've got Linux, the open source challenger. It all started with a kernel from Linus Torvalds, but it has since exploded into this massive ecosystem that powers everything from the world's biggest servers to the Android phone right in your pocket. This single difference, a closed, single product versus an open community project, is going to shape every single security decision we explore today.
So, how do these big philosophies actually translate into security architecture? Let's pull back the curtain and look at the high-level blueprints.
And wow, this really paints a picture, doesn't it? Over on the left, you see the Windows model. It's a complex, deeply interwoven machine. You've got all these different components talking to each other, both in user mode, that's where your applications run, and in the super privileged kernel mode, which is the absolute core of the system. It's powerful for sure, but it's basically a monolith. Now look to the right. That's the Linux approach, using what's called pluggable authentication modules, or PAM. The design is intentionally modular, like a set of Legos. You can literally swap different security services in and out without having to rewrite the programs that depend on them. It's a much more flexible, component-based way of doing things.
So before an operating system can decide what you're allowed to touch, it has to know one crucial thing. Who are you? Let's take a look at how each system issues your digital ID card. Windows gives every single thing, and I mean everything, every user, every group of users, even every single time you log in, something called a security identifier or a SID. And just look at that thing. It's a long, complex string. It's got a revision number, an authority ID that says who created it, and then this really long, unique number for the entity itself. The whole point is for it to be incredibly specific and globally unique across any Windows machine, anywhere. Meanwhile, Linux takes a much simpler path. Every user just gets a user ID, or a UID, and it's just a number. Your personal user account might be 1000, and the all-powerful superuser, the root account, is always, and I mean always, UID 0. That's it. It's clean, it's simple, and it's incredibly easy to understand.
So let's just boil this down. Windows uses a long, complicated, unique string that it stores in its massive central database, the registry. Linux uses a simple number that it keeps in a basic text file. See what I mean? Two totally different answers to the same fundamental question. Who are you?
Okay, so once you're logged in and you start opening programs, that identity, whether it's your complex SID or your simple UID, gets packaged into something called an access token. Just think of it like a digital ID badge that every single process carries around. This badge tells the operating system, hey, I'm running on behalf of this user, I belong to these groups, and here are the special privileges I have.
Now for the really important part, what are you actually allowed to do? This is where we get into the gatekeeper's rulebook.
Windows uses a very granular system called access control lists, or ACLs. Every single file, folder, and object can have this detailed list attached to it that specifies exactly which users or groups are allowed access, or even more importantly, which ones are explicitly denied access. Linux, on the other hand, traditionally keeps it much simpler. It uses a set of 9 permission bits for every file. Can you read it, can you write to it, and can you execute it? And it sets those permissions for 3 categories: the file's owner, a specific group of users, and then, well, everybody else.
Now Windows has this really unique and powerful feature called impersonation. Imagine a client-server situation.
Impersonation allows a server program to temporarily borrow the exact security identity of a client that's connecting to it. It literally puts on the client's digital ID badge to go and do things on their behalf.
And this diagram shows you exactly how slick this is. So, Client 1 has permission to see file X. When they ask the server for it, the server impersonates Client 1, and boom, it gets the file. But now look at Client 2. They don't have permission. So when they make the same request, the server tries to impersonate them, the system checks their permissions, and access to the file is denied. It's an incredibly precise way to enforce security, right down to each individual user's request.
Now let's compare that to the common Linux equivalent, which is called the SUID mechanism. With SUID, a program doesn't borrow the client's identity. Instead, it always runs with the identity of the program's owner. So think about that. If a program is owned by the all-powerful root user, anyone who runs that program gets the full unrestricted power of root for that moment. It's the difference between a scalpel and a sledgehammer. Windows impersonation is surgical. The server's power is limited to whatever the client is allowed to do. Linux SUID is a sledgehammer. The client can potentially wield the full power of the server, which, if you're not careful, can be a major security risk.
So we've covered who you are and what you can do, but how do you prove it to the system in the first place? That brings us to the front door, the logon process. This is about getting the keys to the kingdom.
Take a look at this. This is a classic line from an old-school Linux password file. See that second field, that jumble of characters? That's the user's encrypted password hash. Now here's the crazy part. This file used to be readable by any user on the entire system. That meant anyone could just grab the whole list of everybody's password hashes and go try to crack them offline. Yeah, definitely not ideal.
Thankfully, things got a whole lot smarter. To fix this glaring hole, Linux introduced the shadow password system. They moved the password hash to a completely separate file called /etc/shadow and made it so only the root user can read it. A beautifully simple but hugely effective security upgrade.
Windows, being Windows, uses a more complex system called a challenge response mechanism. Your computer never, ever sends your password or its hash over the network. Instead, the server sends your machine a random piece of data, a challenge. Your computer then takes that challenge, encrypts it using your password hash, and sends that back as the response. The server performs the exact same calculation, and if the two results match, you're in. The most important part here, your actual password credential never travels across the wire, making it much, much harder for someone to snoop on it.
So after popping the hood and looking at identity, permissions, and authentication, we've got to come back to our original question. What's the final verdict? Whose security is actually better?
Well, what we really see are two completely different philosophies in action. Windows is this complex, deeply integrated system that's built from the ground up for incredibly granular object-level control. That's where you get things like ACLs and impersonation. Linux, on the other hand, is a modular, file-centric system built on the powerful simplicity of user permissions, which gives you these very potent but potentially blunt tools like SUID.
So, there's no easy winner here. The better system really truly depends on what you are trying to accomplish. Do you need the fine-grained, policy-driven control that's essential for a large corporate environment? The Windows architecture might be exactly what you need. Or do you need the transparent, powerful simplicity to run a fleet of web servers? In that case, the Linux model might be the perfect fit.
In the end, it's a trade-off. It's complexity and granular control versus simplicity and raw power. And that really leaves us with one final question for you to think about. Based on these fundamental designs, which operating system's philosophy do you trust more for your personal desktop computer? And which one would you choose to run a critical server? The answer to that says a whole lot about what you truly value in security.